Hey, good evening. And we are back, the Hospitality Tech Show, and we are fortunate to have some wonderful guests together with my host, Susan Graves.
Happy to be here with you, Michael.
Yes. And today, we were blessed to have one of our sponsors who have been with us since the beginning, just about, the WorkSource Montgomery team. And they are here. So we're going to be talking about some of their, what they're doing, interesting state law. And we're going to be able to, see how that supports workforce development in Montgomery County and that area. It's a very unique experience. And the MoCoCAP program is something that it's what we call a career advisement program by WorkSource Montgomery that helps students explore career pathways and connect with the industry professionals and prepare them for the future for employment opportunities. So I want to welcome John Hattery. He's the Vice President of WorkSource Montgomery. Welcome.
Hey.
And Clifton Gaddison. Did I say it right? Or Gaddiston. He's the Career Education Manager. Welcome to you.
Thank you so much.
And of course, welcome. And Rashawn Boxdale. He's the Career Advising Coach, all part of the MoCoCAP program. Welcome. So
be here.
Well, good, and it's great to have you here. So just so you know, they are one of our sponsors together with IBM, Danny Barnett of IBM. The folks at Integrity Restaurant Group, we want to thank them as well. They've been there since the beginning. You guys have been really, I'm going to call you the pioneers to get us started. So we appreciate you. So over to Sue. Why don't you take it off from here and take us down that road. Welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome. This is going to be an exciting conversation. We've got some really cool stuff going on. We're not just talking about mentoring. We're talking about leading in the world of mentorship and sponsorship. And, I've got some interesting numbers to throw out there that I touched base with the team on prior to us going live here. And this is impressive. For the school year through June of 26, there has been 104,808 student interactions. This is 6th grade through 9th grade, and about 12th grade, and about 60,000 students that have been touched across 71 schools and almost 50 career coaches delivering sessions. And thank you, Rashawn and Cliff and John, for all of your engagement. And I want to just start right off by saying thank you. And also, I want to know a little bit about RIASEC, because this seems to be, using John Holland's RIASEC themes, right? I am interested in understanding what that looks like and why it's so successful in your state and in your school districts, and what makes a difference there for you.
Well, RIASEC is our foundational language, Susan. It is the first thing that we teach 6th graders. And it's based on John Holland's code. But to start, I guess when you ask the question, we probably ought to start at the beginning. And really what the beginning is that the state of Maryland passed a sweeping education reform law called the Blueprint for Maryland's Future. And in their mind's eye, in the legislative intent, they wanted to start young people in their educational journeys earlier through early childhood education. They wanted to support teachers by augmenting their pay. They wanted to have the most lofty of goals within the blueprint is that they wanted 45% of every graduating senior to leave their educational experience statewide in Maryland with an apprenticeship, a youth apprenticeship, or an industry recognized credential. Okay. So that's a big number, and that's a big ask. And so legislatively built within the 5 pillars of the blueprint law, and I'm not going to bore you with all 5 pillars, but buried in the college and career readiness pillar, which is pillar 3, there was a mandate in there for the Workforce Development Board, which is WorkSource Montgomery. We are the local workforce entity. We deliver the federally funded job programs in Montgomery County. But it's now, in addition, our job to supply career coaching to all through the 6th through 12th graders in Montgomery County. So that's 86,000 young people. Okay.
Yep.
There's about 155,000 young people in Montgomery County schools, and about 84 to 86,000 of them are in middle or high school. So how do you do that? First off, how do you do that we have 50 coaches, and they're really cool and they're really dedicated and they're really good at what they do, but there's not enough hours in the day or a year for us to have a meaningful interaction with them, with an individual student and 50 coaches. It's just the math doesn't math. So the 3 entities called out by the law to partner and design the program came up with what we call MoCoCAP, Montgomery County Career Advising Program. And our foundational language within that is RIASEC. John Holland developed a code whereby he identified 6 themes, out of which all of us operate with about 3 of them. Okay. And we teach that RIASEC code, that RIASEC themes to the 6th graders. The reason we chose that as opposed to LIFO or Myers-Briggs or Gallup Strength or any of those other ones that are out there is because it has been adopted by the U.S. Department of Labor. Remember, we're workforce people. So we work for the U.S. Department of Labor. They had adopted RIASEC many years ago. And on their ONET, they have a thing called an ONET code, which classifies and lists every single occupation that is in the country. And they've done a crosswalk to the RIASEC code. And so when we were talking about what kind of foundational language to use, it was a natural connection to RIASEC. Now, I'm not an expert on RIASEC, but lucky for us, I brought one with us. His name is
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Run through RIASEC, what it is and why it's
All right. So as Mr. Hatterty said, yes, we do teach our students the RIASEC code. Really quickly, RIASEC is comprised of essentially 6 letters. R is realistic. Realistic people tend to be doers. They like to do things outdoors. Usually they like to work with their hands. They like to work with animals. Usually if you play in sports, or if you like construction, you deal with that realistic theme. Then we have I, investigative. Investigative people, they are curious. They are our thinkers. They like to ask questions. Usually scientists, mathematicians, they fall within that investigative theme realm. Then we have artistic. It's self-explanatory. Self-expression, creativity. Usually if you like sounds, if you like music, if you like art, you fall generally within that artistic realm. Then we have S, which is social. Social people, a lot of people get it confused with communication, but in the job realm, social actually deals with empathy. You like to work with people. You like to work as a part of a team. You like helping people. Those are our helpers, counselors, therapists, teachers. And then you have E, which is enterprising. Enterprising are our persuaders. They like to debate. They like to negotiate. They like to take action, take risks. They are our natural leaders. And lastly, you have conventional, which is the C. Conventional people are our organizers. They like structures. They like to do things by the book. And as John said, typically people are made of about 2 to 3 of those RIASEC themes. We use that theme as a foundation to approach students in a dialogic way. Instead of asking students what they want to be, we help them discover who they are first and where do they fit. And by claiming those themes, we don't give them their themes. We help them discover what those themes are for themselves. And by letting them claim their own themes, we are then helping them discover, okay, what careers align or may align with those themes that you claim.
That's awesome. I actually got a chance to visit the Facebook page, and there's some interviews with some teachers. And I found it very interesting. First of all, the middle school band director teacher, Mrs. Rachel Allen, did a really, really super good job of tying in, how music interacts with reading and, literacy and everything else. She did a really, really great job. It gets people thinking about, hey, why should I do music? Well, because music requires reading. And then one thing that I found when I watched Miss Michelle Radu, she's the director of counseling at Potomac Shores Middle School. And one of the things that she mentioned was, you know, the interaction of the students with this program. She said, look, when she was growing up, she didn't even know who her middle school counselor was. So I think that, you know, this is a really, really great way to coach at an early age and get these students, to your point, not thinking about what they should do, but where are they now and what sort of, you know, skills do they currently possess that can be, you know, made bigger and better, you know, and guide them in that direction of a place where they're already successful and feel empowered. So I love it.
So the RIASEC is our foundational language. And then sort of the next step is to have each young person think about their strengths, their interests, and their values.
Yep.
Okay? And so the first step is the language. Okay, I myself am SEA, social, enterprising, and artistic. I know the A surprises everybody, just, you know, it is what it is. But the next step is to have young people kind of examine what they're good at, what they, you know, it's their workplace values. You know, what do they want to make a lot of money? Because that's okay. You know, do they value the environment, or do they value something else that drives the decision making as it relates to what they want to do? And the reason that this is interesting is that, you know, you have to overlay the strengths, interests, and values to the RIASEC. I use my family in this for this example, but my wife is the highest I person I've ever met in my life. And she is a lawyer, and she is an outstanding attorney, and she will read every word of a case, and she will read every word of the discovery. And because she's willing to dive into that detail, she's incredibly successful at what she does.
Yeah.
Our daughter, Catherine, is almost as high an I, but has zero interest in the law. Her interest was science, and ultimately, you know, with some tech involved as well. And so the difference is that they're both high I's. They claim the same theme, but their interests took them in another direction. The third pillar of our program at its base is industry interaction. And I'm going to let Cliff talk to you a little bit about that, because that's something he deals with on the regular.
Very important.
Yeah. And but Cliff, before you go there, I'm just curious on the RIASEC. What's the method that is utilized to help an individual understand themselves? Where do I belong? Am I an R? Am I an I? Am I an S? Is there steps that they take through a series of tests, or how do you do that? Assessment tests?
I think I can answer that. No, we don't really lean into assessments. We really lean into conversations with the students, really helping them through conversations identify in their own voice what they like to do, what their passions. What do you do when no one else is watching in your free time? What is your favorite hobby? Do you like playing sports? Do you like being outside? What do teachers say about you? What do your friends say about you? And through those answers and through those conversations and through building that rapport with those students, we help them then identify. That's why we say we help students claim their own themes instead of saying, this is what I am, you're claiming it. Because the RIASEC themes can change over time, but it's also you claiming it for yourself. You claim and you lead what RIASEC theme is for you. We don't want to tell them what their themes are. We don't want them to take a quick test and say, this is for you. We want their own voice to lead their pathway for them. And so
in the context of that, could you think a person could be an I and an R?
That is very true. And that is the whole method of RIASEC. You're a combination of 2 or 3 or even more. Usually a lot of jobs may have a little bit of each themes in there in the whole RIASEC. But there are top 2 to 3 choices that each student claims. So yes, you are a combination. Like my RIASEC themes are SAC. I love helping people, so I'm a strong social. I'm very artistic. I used to do a lot of debate and theater, but I'm also very conventional. I love structure. I love organization. And there's a bunch of different career pathways I've taken my own way that have led me into career counseling. So yes, students are usually made up of a combination of RIASEC themes.
Very interesting. Well, don't worry, Cliff. You're not getting off.
No. I was just going to add to something that Rashawn had just mentioned. And Sue, since you started off with numbers, I'll add a number for you. the RIASEC has 720 unique themes. So my unique themes are SRA, so social, realistic, and artistic. As a former classroom teacher, that's one of the things that is in my background. And so one of the things that I think our program strives to do is to answer a question that many teachers have been asked. How does this that I'm learning today apply to my life? When am I going to use this again down the road? And so one of the conversations that I know many of our coaches have had is making that connection for students so they can see that. So it leads into the answer to the question regarding, how we handle our industry engagement. So many of our coaches leverage their personal networks, they leverage their school networks, and they bring in professionals to have conversations with the students about not just what is happening in that person's specific profession, but how they got to that place. Because many of us have multiple jobs on our resumes, and the stories that led us into those roles are important for kids to understand. Because, a teacher may be, as you mentioned, Sue, that you saw a music teacher. That music teacher might have been a professional musician before they got to the classroom. And so having that conversation is important to help a student make the connection. One of the tools that I know some of our coaches have used is there's a picture of the Philadelphia Eagles sideline. On that sideline, there's 26 jobs that have nothing to do with the 22 players who are on the field. And we really want to help kids make those connections. And so we have Media Pros. Our coaches have brought in a lot of people for Media Pros. One of our coaches at Rockville High School brought in Tim Kirchin. I'm a huge baseball fan. They brought Tim Kirchin, who's a baseball guy on ESPN, brought him in to talk about media. We've had multiple.
They're still in trouble for not telling me that Tim Kirchin is going to be in their building, by the way.
Right. Yeah. I was also not a fan of not knowing that information. I'd have made that. But anyways, so we were having that, so we have that. We've had many of our local, news reporters, online meteorologists, they've all been on. We've had multiple musicians, DJs, music producers. We've had many people who have come in who do landscape design, we've got scientists. Every one of our schools has a unique makeup. And so our coaches do their very best to identify the school's makeup and then bring those Media Pros in who help provide that thing. And then by doing that, it then also ensures that the community gets to have another connection point with the school. And the goal that we're striving to have is for the young people to know who in their community they can then reach out to say, hey, I want to explore this. As John mentioned earlier, one of the goals is for people to have either apprenticeships or industry-ready, recognized certifications. So in order to do that, you need people who come into the building regularly to help provide those opportunities. And so that is one of the things that our Media Pros do, both intentionally and, through the outreach that our coaches make to ensure that they're bringing those people here. And then we also have pretty much all of our schools in some form or fashion have a career day. They generally come in, they'll bring one of the schools that I help support brought in 60 plus professionals. They had over 500 students come to their career day. And that's just, one example of one of the schools. And I know that it's replicated across the county. We do it from middle school through high school. So the kids are being given opportunities to see it in real time, to see what it looks like in real time. We've had some things that, I always think it's kind of cool when we see the pictures of the real hands-on activities or the videos that come with it that, relate to the Media Pros and the experiences that our kids are having.
But one of the things I want to bring up is the actual poster of what it is: conventional, enterprise, social, artistic, investigating, and realistic. And we have a poster that we just want to queue up for our audience. So let's take a look at that. So there is the actual poster, and
that's what that takes young people through the realistic theme. And so there's one of those for each.
Yeah, that's the R. Yeah.
So is this the one that's literally, and you use this as the theme as you walk them through conventional, enterprise, social, et cetera, right? So each one has a different poster.
Creative. Yeah, we have such creative career coaches. Yes, this is this is kind of the standard stuff. This is the stuff, and you're getting it from our website, and thank you very much for doing that. But really, the connection here, the coaches are the rock stars. This thing works because we have career coaches that know how to connect with young people. Okay, many of our career coaches are relatively early in their career. Some of them, this is their first job, maybe their second job. Some of them are folks that have come out of the classroom or other educational experiences, but they're still earlier in their career. And then we've got these other kind of cadre of 3 or 4, longtime Montgomery County Public School employees who retired from their original gig and now work for us. But at the end of the day, our coaches have so many different ways that they approach young people. They have handouts, and they have cards, and they have lunch bunch conversations, and they catch kids in the hallway, and we do big assemblies where we split the young people up and then have them thinking about who they are and their strengths, their interests, their values. The way we approach the young people is different with every coach. We're getting to the same place. We have a playbook for them, but exactly which play they call at which day is pretty much up to them, which is the only way you can do it and really be, have any hopes of touching almost 60,000 of the individual students in a year, having 104,000 or more interactions with them a year. And so our team at Montgomery County Public Schools, Montgomery College, and WorkSource Montgomery have combined to do this program design where we avoided a test and tell, where we avoided throwing young people in front of a computer, take this test, now you know what you want to be when you grow up.
Yeah.
We wanted to leverage the fact that we have these young people from 6th to 12th grade, and so we can have and supply over the course of someone's career coming through the school system a number of different types of activities that helps hone their thinking along the way about what they want to do when they're done. I also need to put in a plug right now. Before it sounds like this is a WorkSource Montgomery show and only WorkSource Montgomery show, that's not that we do a lot of it. Our coaches work for WorkSource Montgomery. We have a great deal of responsibility, but if it wasn't for the absolute support, active support from Montgomery County Public Schools and Montgomery College, we would not be as effective as we are. Montgomery County Public Schools is working on curriculum that they add to core instruction so they can do things like, tell math students what careers this math procedure that they're learning might actually help them, be successful in. And they have a team of college and career navigators at the high school level, which work closely with our coaches in what's called a career advising team. Montgomery County Public Schools also designates career champions, which are other educators in the building, teachers, counselors, others, to support our coach and to support the MoCoCAP program in their schools. They facilitate in partnership with us, but largely they facilitate student advisory groups. So each school has a group of young people. Rashawn has a student advisory council who then makes sure that student voice gets added to this thing because, we want to do this with students. We don't want to do this to students. That's why we don't do test and tell. That's why we don't throw them in front of a computer. That's so we have, the really unqualified support, and in some ways very brave support. Adding career to core instruction, that's not something that happens at every school district across the country or even every school district in Maryland.
You're connecting the dots, John. You guys are connecting the dots and you're empowering students. I think that's amazing.
They are. But the one of the things I wanted to ask you, John, is about unions.
About unions?
The local unions for apprenticeship programs. Are you plugged into that? For those individuals who say, I want to just do a trade, whether the carpenters union, the electrical union, the plumbers union, masonry unions.
100%. However, I also have to qualify and say that there are a lot of really wonderful apprenticeship programs that are connected to organized labor. And in fact, in Montgomery County, there are the percentage of workers that are connected to organized labor, particularly in the construction trades, is a relatively low number. but they do a wonderful job preparing people for their careers. But just like the IBEW with electrical, we also have the independent electrical contractors, and they do a wonderful job too. And so WorkSource Montgomery, we're kind of like Switzerland, right? The STEP program, which is a hospitality program out of DC, is on our board, and we work with them closely. As such, we also work with the Washington Area New Car Dealers Association and their program, which they do their related training at Montgomery College. And so our career coaches are prepared with the information to be able to help someone navigate kind of, well, if I want to be apprentice or what, once they land on, I want to be an electrician. Okay, well, now we're having a different conversation, aren't we? Now we're talking about, how do I make that happen? What courses do I need to take? What CTE programs do I enter in Montgomery County Public Schools? What are my next steps afterwards? Do I go IEC or do I go IBEW? And our coaches are armed with, they're kind of like shepherds, right? So once a young person sort of makes a decision like that, then Rashawn and all his colleagues are taking them to the appropriate college office.
That's good. That's excellent.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So just let me add this real quick, and then I'll hush. Is we were also very intentional about the professional development of our coaches. We were going to do this unique program model. None of the existing credentials really fit. And so Montgomery County Public Schools, WorkSource Montgomery, and Montgomery College partnered to establish a registered apprenticeship program for our coaches. So you become a coach. Rashawn is right now an apprentice. And so if a young person has a question, what's an apprentice? Oh man, apprenticeship is great. I'm an apprentice. Every single one of my coaches, our coaches, can say I'm an apprentice or I've completed an apprenticeship. And so that's sort of some of the ways that we close the loop. Apprenticeship is nothing but a combination of related training and on-the-job training. And so what we did is we put together, again, in partnership with Montgomery College and a group called Educators Cooperative, who is really instrumental in helping us build this program model. They helped us also establish this apprenticeship program so we could customize the training. So all our coaches understand how to deliver RIASEC programs, strength, interests, and values program, how to layer in the industry engagement piece, how to, and so that all that stuff comes through Montgomery College, and then Montgomery County Public Schools has a significant portion of related training where they talk about how it is to operate in the school, what some of the rules are, what some of the policies are, what some of the points of emphasis are, and also bringing in the heads of like the special education program, bringing in the heads of CTE, bringing in the heads of the International Baccalaureate program, bringing in the heads of our counseling program. So our coaches have this really great 360-degree view of all the resources that are available to students, because Montgomery County is so supportive of students in so many different ways. And so our coaches are trained to understand what that landscape is. And so when somebody asks a question and they need more support than that can happen with a career coach or a classroom teacher, our coaches have the training to be able to connect them with the right person in their building or the right group at the central office to make sure that the next steps happen seamlessly.
Yeah, it sounds like you got a lot of collaboration going, which is awesome, and that's what everybody needs. I want to bring up the whole labor shortage question and get your perspective on this, because is there a labor shortage or is there a mismatch, at the ground level about, how are people being trained and what does readiness look like? So what does that look like from your perspective, Rashawn and Cliff, John?
Oh, well, you're asking some big picture questions. So I'm gonna start with a couple of big picture kinds of situations. So particularly within the trades, Michael, you were asking a little bit about apprenticeship, particularly within the trades. In a former life, I was connected to the National Association of Home Builders. I ran construction training programs for them. And their membership's number one concern from the 80s through the 90s into the early 2000s was entry-level labor shortage. And their complaint was that the public school system was putting all their emphasis on young people going to college. I've seen just in my own life that pendulum starting to shift now in the last 10 years. More and more young people are interested in trades. More and more young people are interested in non-college career paths. Maybe that has to do with the amount of money it costs to go to college and all those kinds of things. But that pendulum is starting to swing back. That it is not an easy job market out there, and I will be honest with you. I am closer to the end of my career than the beginning of my career. But with the influx of artificial intelligence and some of those other kinds of issues, that's what makes me happy to be closer to the end of my career, because I'm not sure what things are going to look like in 5 to 10 years. Now, as it relates to what you're seeing on the ground, I think Rashawn and Cliff can really talk to you about, how young people are looking at the world, how young people are looking at how to fit into the world of work when it's their turn.
Yeah, I'm interested in your perspective on that from the student standpoint. And if a general manager were to come to you from a hotel and say, I just can't find the right people, what are they missing? So kind of combine those two, if you will, from what is a student looking for and what are we missing from the job placement standpoint from the employer? If you guys can hit that, that'd be really interesting.
From my perspective, I think students are just looking for an opportunity to display themselves. I think through the coaching aspect and through the things and that we presented to the students through MoCoCAP, students are much more passionate than a lot of times we give them credit for. Young individuals they want opportunities. They want to be in the workforce. They may not have the skill sets to do it, but they want it. And yes, we talk about AI coming in and replacing things and doing things, but AI does not teach things like leadership, negotiating, relationship building, communication, or emotional intelligence. And that's where we play a role as career coaches. We link their RIASEC passions, find out their strengths and values, equip them with those necessary skill sets to then prepare them for that career readiness, which then those are the skill sets that employers are looking for. Employers are looking for young individuals who are passionate about what they do. It's one thing to want to do something, but it's another thing to be passionate about it. And connecting their passions to actually career pathways is what separates a career from being just a job than from being a long-lasting career.
Cliff, what are your thoughts?
Well, just to add one part to what Rashawn has said, there's research out from Gallup that's talking about how this generation, millennials, Gen Z, soon to be Gen Alpha, and whatever else is out there in terms of the next group of people coming into the workforce, and they're emphasizing that a lot of these people who are entering the workforce are going to look for jobs that match how they feel, match their purpose, match their identity. And so one of the things that we're talking about, that Rashawn and his colleagues do every single day is help kids understand that through the lens of RIASEC. And the key here is that John mentioned values earlier, and it's actually workplace values. It's not the values that we think about when we're talking about, kids are growing up, we want them to do right and all those things. It's a workplace value. And we really want what we're hoping kids will start to understand is that you can have all the skills in the world, but the location and the community and the company don't fit who you are, right, and how you want to present yourself to front on behalf of this company. So they might want to pivot and go to a different role in the same field, but a different company that further matches, what their workplace values are. And so that's one of the things that I'd like to highlight, in addition to what Rashawn said, is that as we're looking at what AI is going to do to the workforce, and, there's going to be people who are going to continue to go into the trades, and we're going to and we are seeing a broader, renewal of interest in the trades and things of that nature at the educational level, that I think is vitally necessary. But in terms of all of the things that Rashawn said, which I 100% agree with, I think there's just that extra piece where we're seeing people now aligning this more with your purpose. Some of us who have been and work, 25 years or more, grew up in an era, if you had multiple jobs on your resume, there was a problem with you, not the company, and so now we've moved away from that to, it's more of, look, if this isn't fitting, then you should look for a better place that your value aligned with, so that you can be, fulfilled in that role.
So is from a hospitality perspective, and think about, hospitality and specifically technology jobs that are available in hospitality now, and how we're shifting into robotics and AI and everything. Are there enough pros in the program in the hospitality sector that drive engagement for that market segment? Or is that something, are kids talking about that? Are they excited about, boy, I would love to go work in a hotel and, manage robots or work with AI in hotels? Or do you see excitement or interest in that? Or is that, you're talking about trades, but I'm just wondering, is hospitality hitting the list of the top 10?
Well, and let me just add on to what she's going to say. What she said, hospitality, there was a labor report that came out that said hospitality and healthcare are leading the way.
Yeah. In
terms of jobs, and so with that said, what Sue's saying, are you really talking about hospitality? There's an interest as it comes across in your travels as a coach, and really under the RIASEC and understanding what's going on.
Well, I'll throw it to Sean here in a minute, but I'll say this. As part of our responsibility to manage the federal workforce development program in Montgomery County, we are tasked to select the high impact industries in our area, and hospitality is one of those. Okay, and has always been so, and will remain so for the foreseeable future. I'll also add, as an aside, every time our friends at Marriott come to one of our big job fairs and they choose to bring the portable popcorn machine, they are a very popular option.
It's a hit.
It's a hit. But one of the things that our people do, and I'll let Rashawn kind of riff on this a little bit, but so all the jobs that are available within hospitality, right?
Yes.
All of them, from front desk to back of the house to
security and maintenance,
all of it. And so I'll let him talk about how he kind of drills down into industries and how they all have multiple opportunities within them.
As we were saying earlier, through our career fairs and meet pros and direct contact with the community and employers, students a lot of times just think hospitality is just the hotel industry, and it is not. Hospitality covers event management, tourism, culinary leadership, human resources, sports and entertainment, entrepreneurship. It's an entire ecosystem of careers that are connected to one common theme, and that is serving people exceptionally well. One thing I will say, when I was onboarded at MoCoCAP, they gave us a piece of literature by Will Guidara called Unreasonable Hospitality, which pretty much tells us that it teaches us to go above creating just a service, delivering the service to people well, and actually creating moments. Delivering service is just doing something that is expected, but creating a hospitality is creating a moment, making people feel genuinely seen, valued, and cared for. And that's what we are equipping our students with. We're preparing them for that mindset that they can carry those human skills, not only in any hospitality realm of the careers that I just listed, but that can be translated into any industry field. So that's what we're teaching them. Not just delivering a service that is expected, but creating a moment and doing it with excellence. Because the difference of doing something with excellence is just doing ordinary things extraordinarily.
But you want it to be a memorable experience, and that's what you're giving.
Exactly.
You're doing a lot. That's perfect. I like the way you frame that up, because you're right. And there's so many in one market segment. You can do a bunch of different jobs, and you can actually stay with the same company and do that as well, which is even better. But so you have the pros come in, or help me understand, or do the students go to the workplace?
So there's kind of opportunities for both. In collaborations within the schools, we have opportunities to have field trips that students have opportunities to go out and do different things. I know some of our coaches have done a thing with constructions where students were actually able to go and see trades and do hands-on experiences. But a lot of times we definitely bring the pros inside of the school to have those one-on-ones conversations with students that go beyond, again, what I do, but how I got here and the little things like what a day in my life actually looks like. Do I have to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning? Do I have to stand up? Do I have to work with people so students can actually connect beyond what what the task is for the job and just see what the lifestyle that the job presents?
Oh, let me ask you this question.
Over 600 professionals came into schools. Now, there may have been, but over 600 professionals came into schools last year. For instance, the fire department went to an English class at Rockville High School as they were finishing up Fahrenheit 451, and so and made the point very clearly that they don't burn books. The Seneca Valley has done a field trip the last couple of years up to the Frederick Keyes Stadium to talk about working within professional sports. A number of schools went down to the Verizon Center and did a similar thing with the NBA. Walter Johnson High School has been down to the Capitol and visited with Jamie Raskin and Senator Van Hollen, and so those are examples of the taking young people to the jobs, and then remodelers and doctors and engineers, and as Cliff said, local weather people, local reporting anchors, news anchors. I forget which news anchor it was, but he was up at Poolsville last year. Firefighters, law enforcement, military, all the healthcare, and including some folks from hospitality. And you were talking about the crossover with tech and hospitality. It's very, very clear that it's there. I ran a job postings report for May and June. Marriott was looking for somebody to do cybersecurity, and they were looking for somebody else to do some inventory stuff. I mean, that crossover is there, and we have the labor market information to be able to let folks know, these are the industries that are growing, and this is what you can expect to be paid on what you level of education or training you want to get. So, we try to cover all the bases. It's a large job, especially when you start talking about the number of young people that we're tasked to touch. But the way we've gone about it seems to be working.
So I love what you guys are doing. The program is pretty young, right? Like 4 years old. So there's got to be moments like what I want to know is I want each one of you to kind of tell me about a moment or a story from the program that really changed how you think about career pathways, specifically in hospitality, if we can hit that.
That's a heavy question, huh?
You got to think about those students, right?
So I will
go ahead, Cliff.
I'll answer this one. I've been with the program since we started, and my first team of coaches, as John said, we've had some really creative coaches. And my first group of teams created a tool that it has become, pretty much standard in all of our schools. And it was essentially taking time to hang out with the kids during lunch. We call it lunch bunch. Everybody calls it all the teams have something similar. One of my coaches calls it paint and sip, it's all sorts of things that is now called. But the whole point behind it was to meet the kids where they were. And to give them an opportunity to talk about it outside of how we present it sometimes, which is in our whole group sessions. And so because that has become literally a staple of our program, we've seen a lot of great relationships built by our coaches with the students in their school, great relationships with the teachers, security, admin, because they're there with the kids in that space. And to Rashawn's point, the whole idea is to create that point of hospitality. And I'll finish it with this. There is a young student at Benjamin Banneker Middle School, and he had been asked to speak for the 8th grade promotion day. And one of our coaches is also a certified barber, and so the young man came, wanted to talk to him about that, and he started the process of learning how to barber. And so when he got just talking about his experiences at Banneker, he mentioned the coach specifically because of how he helped open his eyes to how he could do barbering. And so to me, that's one of the ways in which our hospitality has shown through. And understand it's not unique to this particular coach. All of our coaches have those moments. It's just that was one of those things that I would say highlighted for me, the idea of how we can do hospitality in schools through any number of things that may not directly seem like we're in the hospitality marketplace. And in that thing, but there's how that hospitality shows up with that memorable experience, that memorable moment where this young person will never forget his coach because he opened up an opportunity for him to have a career, and the kid made money. He was making money from cutting his classmates' hair as he developed his skills. So that's one of the things I would say that has helped me better see the world through the lens of hospitality.
Well, let's put this on the table. So we talked about hospitality, we talked about apprenticeships and the unions when we go. But what about today's technology where we are? Fast forward, we're at a pivotal point. Artificial intelligence, right? And AI, I'm just curious, are you addressing that? How are you going about addressing or coaching these young people on what they're about to endure? Because one of the things is, what will AI nearly replace? That job of yesterday may be replaced. We went, if you look back the era from industrial into manufacturing, right? Manufacturing into technology. Technology now takes a leap, gets into now, cloud computing, AI technologies, etc. Automation adopted by hotel technology. It's a huge thing. In 5 years, what's it going to look like? What's your thoughts on that? There's a lot in there.
There is, Michael, but there is so much unknown. And so one of the most important things you have to be with young people is authentic, right? And so none of us really has the answer to what AI is going to do to particular industries right now. Mm-hmm. And so you have to be honest with young people because they can smell it when you're being inauthentic, right? Mm-hmm. And so we always say things are changing. But the other thing that we have an advantage as workforce development professionals, because WorkSource Montgomery has resources. And one of the things that we try to supply young people or our coaches with so they can in turn supply with young people is labor market information. So, what we do is if a young person has a question about a specific occupation, say hotels, we can pull up an industry snapshot, which says that there's been 38% growth since from 2020 to 2025. Now, think about what that is. That's COVID, the low of COVID, and now coming back, and a projected growth of about 1% going forward now that we're full in just hotels. And I know the hospitality covers a lot of other things. I also pulled up full service restaurants as well. But in our jobs, there are 11,000 people retiring soon in the Washington DMV area out of the hotel industry. And that probably jives with your own network, right?
Right.
That represents, while there isn't going to be spectacular growth, according to this tool that we use, there will be significant opportunity because of all the folks that are my age and older and a little younger who are leaving the industry. And so we give young people this kind of information so they are armed with information to make some decisions about what's next for them or about what their possibilities may be, right? So we have labor market information that we try to give the young people so they can make an informed decision. Mm-hmm. One of the strengths of our program is that there are like 10 core occupations that if no one interacts with somebody and you ask a group of 100 kids, that a majority of them are going to say doctor, lawyer, engineer, possibly nurse, and fire department, construction worker, law enforcement, right? To give some examples. One of the strengths of our program is that we are not focused just on those top 10. The diversity of the occupations that our young people are claiming along with their RIASEC themes, and the fact that the occupations that they're expressing interest in are congruent with their RIASEC themes is one of the ways that I understand from a global standpoint, from a program management standpoint, that we're actually moving the needle, that we're actually having the intended impact. If we hadn't done anything, or if we weren't doing it correctly, it's very possible that our distribution of occupations that are being listed as of interest by students would mirror the national response without career coaching. But because we're shunned, and because of all the other really dedicated rock star career coaches are in there swinging with kids, they are widening their gaze to look at hospitality, to look at being a car mechanic, to look at some of these traditional occupations as well, because parents have a voice in this thing too, right? So that's kind of that's a long-winded answer to, we don't know what AI is going to look like. We don't know what AI is going to change in workforce development. We don't know. We know that there are some occupations that look like it's going to be touched less, some healthcare stuff, some education stuff, some hard trade stuff. But, as far as what all those ripple effects are, when there are self-driving cars everywhere, where there are self-driving 18-wheelers, what does that look like? And then where do those people shift to in 10 years? The economy is evolving. It's evolving very quickly. And we can tell people what the snapshot is now. We can give them a projection for 5 years. But as long as we're authentic and we give young people the opportunity, if they know themselves, if they understand their themes, they understand their strengths, interests, and values, then picking the next best thing for them based on what's available becomes easier, because they have done this work they've already done this math in their heads, if you will.
John, do you think that list will change? I mean, like most kids, for example, when I was growing up and starting when I was young, what do you want to be? I want to be a policeman, fireman, that typical type of answer. Some even were saying, okay, I'll be a lawyer, a doctor. But I think that, your program kind of opens that mind and kind of cracks open other possibilities.
Yeah.
Because they only know what they know until they're taught something different.
Well, it's already changed. So I don't know. Rashawn can comment how many young people want to be professional athletes, how many young people want to be rap stars, how many young people want to be in the music business, how many young people want to be influencers, how many young people.
I was just going to ask you about that.
Yeah, see there. Influencer.
YouTube influencer, right?
Yeah. There you go.
It's that list has already shifted to a certain degree, is what I'm saying.
Okay. Well, I want to see them say, I want to be a general manager of a hotel. I want to own my hotel. Right? I want to entrepreneurship, which is the backbone of America's economy, right? So I'm hoping to, that with your help, and so answer this: how does somebody work with MoCoCAP in your organization? How do they get to work with you?
Cliff, go.
All right, so I know we're up against time, so I'll simply say this: the easiest and the fastest way for them to get involved with MoCoCAP is to reach out to the local middle school or high school, because all of our coaches are in those buildings. And then from there, obviously our website is there. Obviously, there's the technological pathways. But because many of these people are connected to schools, whether it's their grandkids, whether it's their kids themselves, whether they're alumni of these of these schools, that's their easiest in, because no school is going to ever say no to someone coming in to say, hey, we want to help. And so that would be the fastest way would be to walk into the local middle school, high school, talk to the admin in the building and say, hey, or the secretary who's sitting at the front desk and say, hey, I'd like to share my talents. I do such and such, and who could I talk to? And I guarantee it'll either be a counselor or one of our coaches who will be be their next conversation. All of our coaches have MCPS emails. You can look them up that way as well. But yeah, that would be the fastest way to get in. And then obviously we could get into the weeds with other stuff. But first place,
you can go to our website and you can express interest on our website. You can go to the WorkSource Montgomery website, and there's a place where you can express interest in becoming involved on that. There's a MoCoCAP.com website as well, which has a lot of information about the program, including, our latest reports and metrics and all kinds of things. But there's also a place where industry folks can hit a link, and either myself or Cliff, probably Cliff, will reach out to them to make the connection.
Well, it's great. I mean, it's a pleasure having you guys on the show, and it's been interesting to really learn, what the MoCoCAP is all about, because it's really making a difference. I love the fact that in terms of the law, it's mandated. It's open. You guys are doing some great work, Rashawn. Thank you for your, I guess you've come from the ground up. I didn't know that you were an apprenticeship. You got to let that out of the bag, John. And so you're trained up very well, but that makes a difference to a young person who's trying to find their way. And appreciate it, Clifton. You've been there since the beginning, and fantastic for what you're doing, John. The overall, all the way up to the mothership and the WorkSource Montgomery, doing a fantastic job. Any last words, Sue?
No, I thank you guys for helping get these students ready for the labor force. And one of the takeaways I got was, and we probably don't have time to go into one more conversation about it, but the whole culture and value system of an organization, and what does that look like now for attracting young people now to the hospitality sector from a value proposition standpoint. I think enterprise organizations and individual independent hotels need to think about, how are you putting culture and value first to help attract young people and align that system so they stay, right? That's the big takeaway I got with you guys, other than all the other great stuff you're doing. So appreciate it.
Sounds like a whole nother episode, Sue.
We're happy to dive into that. I think that'd be a good one.
And we will have you back. With that said, I'm going to hold you 3 of you today. You might want to bring somebody else. But the point being is that we really enjoyed this conversation, and I'm sure you will come back. Matter of fact, can we all nod our heads and say yes? Okay.
Yes. Thank you for having us. It's been great. We really appreciate the opportunity to highlight what we're doing.
And I appreciate you being good sponsors to us. The Workforce Montgomery, like as I told you, audience, they have been with us since the beginning and have been very generous to us, and we appreciate you. Also, our other sponsors, the Integrity Restaurant Group, and as well as Danny Bonnet of IBM. My name is Michael Woodson, together with Sue Graves and our lovely guest, John Hattery, Rashawn Boxdale, and of course, Clifton. Good night to you guys. Until next time, have a good week. Take care.